To humiliate me, my female boss gifted me a green turtle plushie. I gave the toy's belly a gentle pinch, only to watch her expression change instantly. She clutched her own stomach back home. I found the plushie felt quite nice to the touch, so I kept stroking it, but in the dead of night my boss called me. Stop touching it please, how about I just come over to your place? Instead, my name is Jack. I've been grinding at this marketing firm in Chicago for 5 years, but my boss Veronica has been trying to bury me since day one. She wants me out dead or alive. Simple. 5 years ago I walked into the interview room and destroyed her boyfriend. I got the job, he got the boot. Correction, ex-boyfriend. They broke up shortly after. But Veronica never let it go. She blamed me for ruining her perfect future. So she climbed the corporate ladder with a vengeance, clawing her way up to VP, just so she could look down on me. I didn't slack off though, I'm right below her, close enough to be a thorn in her side, but performing too well for her to fire without a lawsuit. Jack, I got you a little something. Veronica dropped a plush toy onto my desk with a heavy thud. It was a turtle, a bright neon green turtle with a stupid grin. But she had taken a Sharpie and written cock in big black letters across its shell. What's this supposed to be, Veronica? I asked, leaning back in my chair. Just a reminder of your place. She smirked, her red lips curving into a cruel smile. Heard about your girlfriend, or should I say ex-girlfriend, cheating on you with a finance bro. Ouch, this turtle is slow and pathetic. Just like you. The office went silent. Whispers rippled through the cubicles. That's cold even for her, someone muttered. My jaw tightened. 2 days ago, I found out my girlfriend was banging some guy from Wall Street. I was raw, I was angry. And Veronica knew exactly where to stick the knife. Cute, I said, my voice low. Thanks for the concern, Veronica. I'll be sure to return the favor. I grabbed the turtle by its neck. I didn't explode, I didn't scream. I knew she was baiting me. 1 hour violation, 1 outburst, and she'd have the ammo to fire me. 5 years of psychological warfare. And she was still waiting for me to slip. How? I'll be waiting, she whispered, spinning on her heels and walking away. I took the damn turtle home. I threw it on my couch. It was an insult, sure, but it fueled me. It was like bitter medicine. Woke me up. I stared at the green fabric, swearing to myself that I'd never be a simp again. No more getting played. I picked up the turtle, intending to toss it in the trash, but my thumb brushed against the fabric of its shell. I paused. I ran my hand over the bottom of the shell, near the tail. What the hell? It felt weirdly good. Not like cheap polyester, it felt warm. I rubbed it again. The texture wasn't fabric. Felt like skin, soft, yielding elastic skin. This is insane, I muttered. It's a $5 gag gift. Why does the ass feel so realistic? I pressed my fingers deeper. It had resistance. It had warmth. It felt exactly like squeezing a woman's ass. No way. I shifted my grip and rubbed the turtle's stomach, soft, velvety, but different from the back. It felt like a flat-toned stomach. It felt terrifyingly familiar. I closed my eyes and rubbed the lower belly of the toy. A shiver ran down my spine. It felt exactly like touching my ex-girlfriend, no better, smoother, tighter. Is this some kind of new silicone tech? I wondered aloud. Did she spend a fortune on a high-tech sex doll just to mock me? I was lonely, drunk on whiskey, and angry. So I didn't stop. I spent the night mindlessly stroking the plushie, trying to numb the pain of the breakup. I fell asleep cuddling the damn thing, my hand resting on its soft underbelly. It was the best sleep I'd had in weeks. It felt like there was a real woman in bed with me. The next morning at the office, Veronica looked like a train wreck. Miss Veronica, are you okay? An intern asked. You look exhausted. Veronica had dark circles under her eyes. She looked like she hadn't slept a wink. She was jittery, on edge. I'm fine, she snapped, storming into her office. What's your problem? I whispered to myself. Needs to get laid, probably. She slammed her door shut. I smirked and went back to work. Around lunch, I walked past the break room. The door was slightly ajar. I heard whimpering. Stop, please, please, God, stop touching me. I don't know who you are. Just stop. The voice was breathless, desperate. It was Veronica. My eyebrows shot up. Was she hooking up in the break room at noon? I knew she was frustrated, but this was bold. I peeked through the crack in the door. Veronica was alone. She was lying on the leather sofa, her body twisting, her hands clutching her own waist and thighs. She was asleep, but she was reacting to something. She's dreaming about getting felt up, I thought, amused. Man, that dry spell must be hitting her hard. I pulled out my phone and recorded a few seconds of the audio, just in case. That night, the office group chat, the one without Veronica, was blowing up. Coworker 1, did you hear? Veronica in the break room sounded like she was having a nightmare about being groped. Coworker 2, she's losing it. She kept complaining that someone was touching her all night. Coworker 3, she needs a boyfriend badly. I chuckled, reading the text in bed. I grabbed the green turtle, placed it on my lap, and started absent-mindedly scratching its back while watching Netflix. Midnight struck. My phone rang. Caller ID. The bitch Veronica. I answered. Veronica, it's late, Jack. Her voice was shrill, trembling with rage. Is it you? Are you doing this? Doing what? I'm in bed watching TV. You crazy? Don't play dumb, I know it's you, someone is touching me everywhere. Is this some kind of voodoo? You're hallucinating, Veronica. Go see a doctor, or get a date. I was annoyed. She wakes me up to accuse me of ghost groping her. Out of spite, I grabbed the turtle's ass and squeezed it hard a pinch. Ah, Veronica screamed on the other end of the line, my ass. You just pinched my ass. I froze. I looked at the turtle, I looked at my hand. Wait, I gently ran a finger down the turtle's stomach. A soft involuntary moan escaped Veronica's lips through the speaker. Holy shit, it wasn't a hallucination, the doll. It was linked to her sensory synchronization, Jack, I gasped. If that's you, stop. A wicked grin spread across my face. She gave me this doll to humiliate me. She wanted me to look at it and feel like a loser, but instead, she handed me the remote control to her body. So what if it is me? I whispered into the phone, my voice dropping an octave. I'm just playing with my toy, Veronica, the one you gave me. I dragged my nails lightly across the turtle's chest. Oh God, she whispered. If you want me to stop, I said coldly. You know where I live, come beg. I hung up. I sat there staring at the neon green turtle. This was power. Absolute terrifying power. I poked its belly button. Nothing happened. I squeezed the thigh. I waited. 20 minutes later, there was a frantic pounding on my apartment door. Bang, 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 zack. Open up. I checked the time, 3 a.m. I shoved the turtle under my bed, threw on a t-shirt and opened the door. Veronica stood there. She was a mess. Her hair was disheveled. She was wearing a trench coat over pajamas, and her eyes were wild. You sick bastard, she hissed, pushing past me into the apartment. Whoa. Easy, you're trespassing, I said, leaning against the doorframe. She spun around, tears welling in her eyes. The ice queen was melting. Please, he whispered, her voice cracking. Just stop, I can't take it anymore. It feels like you're everywhere. I can. Sleep. I can't think. I don't know what you're talking about, I lied smoothly. She stared at me, then took a deep breath. Her hands went to the belt of her trench coat. If you think I'm lying. If you think this is a game. She let the coat drop. Underneath, she was wearing a sheer silk nightgown. Her body was incredible tone, curvy, mature. She reached into her pocket and threw a foil wrapper on the table. A condom. I'll give it to you, she said, her face burning red with humiliation. Real in the flesh, stop using that thing. I looked at the condom. Then at her. You're trying to set me up, I said. I touch you and tomorrow I'm in jail for assault. Nice try, Veronica. I'm not, she cried out. I just want to sleep. I'll do anything, I'll sign whatever you want. She was desperate. The sensory overload from the doll must be torture for her. Anything. Yes, I grabbed a notepad and a pen. I scribbled a quick legally binding consent for my Veronica. Last name, I'm here of my own free will. Initiating sexual contact with Jack. Last name, I consent to all acts. Sign it, I commanded. She didn't hesitate. She signed it with a shaking hand. I took a photo of the note and uploaded it to my cloud. Then I tossed the condom she brought into the trash. Hey, she protested. I don't use cheap brands, I said, opening my drawer and pulling out a premium one. And don't worry, I'm not the monster you think I am, but since you're offering. I walked up to her. The tension in the room was thick. Enough to choke on. Bedroom. Now she bit her lip, lowered her head, and followed me. The bedroom door clicked shut. A sound that felt like a gavel hitting a sounding board. Veronica stood by the edge of my bed, her chest heaving, the silk of her nightgown shimmering under the dim amber glow of my bedside lamp. She looked less like a VP of marketing and more like a high-stakes gambler who had just lost her last chip. Sit, I said, my voice devoid of the usual office subservience. She obeyed, her knees hitting the mattress. I reached under the bed and pulled out the neon green turtle. The moment her eyes landed on it, she flinched, a visible shudder racking her frame. Where did you get it, Veronica? Truly. A boutique in the West Loop, she whispered, her eyes fixed on the plushie's stupid, stitched-on grin. The shopkeeper said it was a sympathetic focus. I thought it was just some new age bullshit, a way to make you feel my contempt every time you looked at it. I didn't think. I didn't know it actually worked. I sat across from her, the turtle in my lap. I traced the cock, Sharpie lettering on the shell. As my thumb brushed the ink, Veronica's breath hitched. Her back arched slightly, her fingers digging into my bedsheets. It's a two-way street, isn't it? I mused. You wanted to humiliate me, but you linked your nervous system to a toy you gave to the man you hate most in the world. That's a special kind of oversight. I was desperate, Jack, she hissed, a flash of the old fire returning to her eyes. You ruined everything 5 years ago. Mark was the one. We had a plan. And you were just better. You took the life I wanted. I took a job I earned. I retorted. I moved my hand to the turtle's neck, squeezing just enough to be felt. Veronica's hand flew to her throat, her eyes widening. And now, I own the life you built instead. That night wasn't about the release she expected. It was about recalibration. Every time she tried to regain her boss persona, a simple flick of the plushie's limb brought her back to reality. By dawn, the power dynamic that had defined our last 5 years hadn't just shifted. It had been demolished and rebuilt with me at the top. Monday morning at the firm was different. The air in the Chicago office felt pressurized. I walked in at 9:05 a.m., 5 minutes late, something Veronica usually would have used as grounds for a written warning. As I passed her glass-walled office, our eyes met. Usually, she'd give me a look that could wither stone. Today she looked away first, her cheeks flushing a faint pink. I sat at my desk, the turtle safely tucked into my leather briefcase beneath my feet. Around 11 a.m., the CEO, Miller, a silver-haired shark who cared only about quarterly dividends, called a snap meeting. We gathered in the war room, overlooking the Chicago River. "We're losing the sterling account," Miller barked, slamming a folder onto the mahogany table. "Veronica, you've been lead on this for 6 months. Why are they leaning toward our rivals at Ogilvy?" Veronica stood up, her usual poise slightly fractured. "Sir, the market shift in the third quarter." "Excuses don't pay the rent, Veronica," Miller cut her off. "I need a pivot. Now." I felt the briefcase against my leg. I reached down, ostensibly to grab a notebook, but my hand found the turtle through the unzipped leather. I found a specific spot on the turtle's ribs, and gave it a sharp, rhythmic tap. Under the table, Veronica's legs buckled for a split second. She gasped, a sound she tried to mask as a cough. The entire board looked at her. "Are you all right, VP?" Miller asked, narrowing his eyes. I have a proposal," she stammered, her eyes darting to me. She saw my hand still inside the bag. She knew. "Actually, Jack has been developing a side strategy that I think is the real winner here." "Jack?" The room turned to me. I smiled, letting go of the toy. "Thank you, Veronica. I'd be happy to lead the presentation." For the next hour, I didn't just save the sterling account. I made it look like Veronica had been the one holding us back. I saw her sitting there, forced to nod and support my every word. Her body buzzing with the residual static of the doll's connection. I was no longer the thorn in her side. I was the hand on the steering wheel. A week later, the office rumors were reaching a fever pitch. People noticed that I was now in every high-level meeting. They noticed that Veronica, the woman who used to scream at interns for the wrong shade of highlighter, was now quiet, almost docile. But the doll was starting to change. I noticed it on a Tuesday night. I was at home, the turtle on the coffee table. The neon green fabric seemed darker, more organic. When I touched the shell, it didn't just feel like skin anymore. It felt like it was pulsing. A heartbeat. My phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Mr. Reese?" A gravelly, ancient-sounding voice asked. "Who is this?" "The proprietor of the shop in the West Loop. The one Miss Vance frequented. I believe you have something of mine." I felt a chill. It was a gift. "It's mine now." "A gift, yes. But a sympathetic link requires a sacrifice to maintain, Mr. Reese. The more you use it to control her, the more of you it takes. Have you noticed the fatigue? The coldness in your own fingertips?" I looked at my hand. My nails were slightly blue. I had been feeling exhausted, despite the corporate victories. "If you keep using it," the voice continued, "the doll will eventually become the person, and the person will become the doll. She will turn into a hollow shell, and you will be tied to that empty vessel forever. Is that the victory you wanted?" I hung up, my heart hammering. I looked at the turtle. Its stupid grin now looked like a death mask. I didn't stop. The hunger for revenge was too strong. I told myself the shopkeeper was just a crank. A part of some elaborate prank Veronica was playing to get the doll back. The climax came during the annual shareholder gala. It was held at the top of the Willis Tower. Everyone who was anyone in Chicago marketing was there. Miller took the stage. "Before we toast to a record year, I have an announcement. We are appointing a new senior VP to oversee all North American operations. Veronica Vance has recommended." He paused, looking at his notes. This was it. The moment I had forced her to prepare. She was going to step down and name me as her successor. I looked at Veronica. She was wearing a stunning black gown, but she looked like a ghost. Her skin was translucent, her eyes sunken. She looked at me, not with hatred, but with a terrifying, blank emptiness. I reached into my tuxedo pocket. I had brought a smaller version, a piece of the fabric I'd cut from the turtle, sewn into a small ball. I squeezed it. Veronica didn't flinch. She didn't react at all. Suddenly, the room went cold. The lights flickered. "Veronica?" Miller asked, concerned. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Instead, a sound like rustling fabric filled the room. She began to slump, her body losing its rigidity. I realized with horror that the shopkeeper wasn't lying. I had drained her. I had used the link so much to feed my own ego that I had consumed her essence. "Jack," she whispered, her voice sounding like it was coming from miles away. I looked down at the fabric ball in my hand. It was glowing with a sickly green light. I felt a sharp pain in my chest, a vacuum pulling at my soul. I looked at the crowd. They were frozen like statues. Time had slowed to a crawl. In that moment of absolute power, I realized I was utterly alone. I had destroyed the only person who actually challenged me, the only person who made the grind worth it. Without her to fight, I was nothing. I ran to her before she hit the floor. "Veronica, look at me." Her eyes were glassy. You won, Jack. You buried me, just like I wanted to do to you. No, igrolat. I'm not letting it end like this. I remembered the shopkeeper's words. A sacrifice. I took the fabric ball and pressed it against my own heart. I thought about the last 5 years. The anger, the rivalry, the way she made me better by being my enemy. I stopped trying to take control and tried to give it back. I closed my eyes and envisioned all the energy I'd stolen, the promotions, the accolades, the physical sensations, and I pushed them back through the link. A blinding flash of green light engulfed us. When I opened my eyes, the gala was back in full swing. The music was playing, the wine was flowing. Veronica was standing in front of me, her color returned, her eyes sharp and furious. She looked down at my hand, then up at my face. She knew what I had just done. She felt the life rush back into her. Miller was still at the podium. Recommendation is that Jack Reese and Veronica Vance be appointed as co-COS of the new merged venture. The room erupted in applause. Veronica leaned in close, her breath warm against my ear. The smell of her perfume was intoxicating, but her words were ice. You almost killed me, Jack. And you tried to ruin me for 5 years, I whispered back. We're even. Not even, she said, a small, dangerous smile playing on her lips. I still have the receipt for that doll. And I know where you live. I felt a sudden, sharp pinch on my own side. My jump was involuntary. I looked at her hand. She was holding a small, neon green scrap of fabric she'd snatched from the floor during the flash. The link works both ways now, Jack, she whispered. Welcome to the top. It's going to be a very painful climb. We turned to the crowd, raising our glasses in a perfect, synchronized toast. To the world, we were the power couple of the decade. To each other, we were the ultimate predators, locked in a dance that would never end, each of us holding the trigger to the other's soul. I looked at the green fabric in her hand, and then at my own. The game hadn't ended, the stakes had just become infinite. As the cameras flashed, I knew one thing for sure. I'd never sleep soundly again. And neither would she. The end.